I'm back here, and since my last video I've managed to nip inside for to get a wee, and now it's time to take this even more naked than normal Z1000 outside because it's time to change the coolant. Well, actually there's a couple of bits I can do before I get it out there because it is still blooming cold out there. So I'm just going to do a couple little bits first and enjoy my cuppa. And then we'll have it outside for the proper coolant drain and to flush the system through. So, quick cuppa, then I'll get started. Cheers. Lovely cuppa. So that first job, according to the book, to drain the overflow tank, reserve tank, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, this tank at the back of the bike, to drain it you're supposed to take it off, and to take it off you also have to take the suspension apart, and frankly I can't be bothered. That seems like far too much effort. So I'm going to try this. Just a big syringe. Got it for £1 off eBay, delivered from China. I have no idea how they managed to deliver something from China for £1. And it's almost like the thing's free. Oh, lost the cap. Found it again. While I'm here, just check that the rubber in the cap is still nice and flexible and no cracks or anything. So that's good. And now, let's wrap it with that cloth because it's bound to drip. And if it does drip, it can drip on the cloth and not do any damage. And if I miss with my dripping and get some on the paintwork, I've got a cloth to hand to clean it up. Now it's hard to tell if that is in the bottom or not, but we'll just draw some fluid out and see what happens. Absolutely nothing. Here it comes. That's better. Handy to have the third hand. Works quite well. See how much more I can get out. So I'm just poking it around a few different places. I think for next time, which won't be for another 3 years, but I think for next time, or if I do it on another bike, it would be handy to have a hard tube on the end of it so you could really poke it into where you want it to be. But compared to taking the suspension apart, this is a much better idea. Don't think I can put it off anymore. Time to go outside. And the next job is to get that fluid out. So that bolt is in the middle of the picture. That's where the fluid is held in, and that's where it's going to drain out. So I've just got to take that bolt out, make as little mess as I can. I'm also going to take the radiator cap off so that the fluid can flow through nicely and not just generate a vacuum behind it. came out quicker than I thought. Well, that drips away, last few bits out. That's the drain plug. See if it'll focus there. And it's got a washer, and that washer will go in the bin and get replaced with a new one. Now I did make a bit of mess on the ground, and that is nasty stuff, so there'll be a few drips on the bike. There's quite a bit on the tarmac, and it's really slippery and horrible. And very sweet. If cats come along, apparently cats like to lick it up and get poisoned, so shouldn't leave that lying about. So I'm going to get my hose and spray it down, and I need my hose anyway because I'm going to flush the system. When flushing out the system, basically just going to clean out any coolant, any crud that's left inside the pipes and whatnot. Nothing more spectacular than just pushing water into the radiator and letting it flow through and out of the drain hole. And I mean, you can keep doing it until it's clear, or just keep doing it for a bit, or until you've got no room left in your pan, whatever it might be. I'm using a hose, I'm using tap water. I know some people think that's offensive because there's a worry about putting hard water inside the cooling system, but it's not a problem. And remember, at this point the engine's not hot. I've not had the bike started today at all. So it's just into the radiator filler. Has the secondary benefit that anything that's dripped out the other side with coolant in is now going to get washed out, and any drip should get washed off. And now I'll put the bolt back in and a new washer so I can start to fill it up with coolant. And this is one of the few bolts that I will actually use a torque wrench for, even though it's only 11 Newton meters, because you want to make sure you've got the right amount of torque to crush the washer properly and stop it leaking. This is the coolant I'm going to use, the Fuchs, to say that one carefully, Silkily Mac Cool, because it's got to be suitable for magnesium in the engine. So it's just a case of, now that the bottom's plugged up, pouring in the coolant into the radiator cap to fill it all up, then filling up the overflow tank, and then trying to expel any air. And the key here is to get as little air in the system as possible in the first place by pouring really slowly. Now, as this is such a pig to get to, I can't even get a funnel in there. I really need a flexible funnel. So I think I'm going to have to use my big syringe again. And of course this time I'm just trying to fill it up to the high line. That'll do. So that's the coolant up to the top of the radiator neck. It's the coolant up to the top line on the overflow. Now I just need to expel the air from the system. That's quite easy in theory. We start the engine up, let it run for a bit until it warms up, until the radiator fan kicks in, which is also a good chance to check the radiator fan's working properly. I know about that one. And that should hopefully expel most of the air. You can also then tap on the hoses, squeeze the hoses, do whatever you can to get the air out. And then you carefully, because now it's hot, remove the radiator cap and see how far down it's gone. Top it up, do it again, keep going until it doesn't need topping up anymore. And then that's the coolant done. So, let's finish it off. And while you're doing all that, of course, checking for leaks. Bit of a clean up while I wait. When you do the flush through, you end up taking out a lot more than you put in. That's the bike hot. Fan's been running, so the pump's been going. So hopefully it will have expelled some air. Let's take a look inside the radiator cap. I haven't been very gingery about it, but I don't want to get burnt. This is now above 100 degrees and under pressure because of it. And you should be able to see there's now less coolant in there than there was before. So I need to refill that, because that's some of the air that's come out. See, as I squeeze and tap the pipes, very hot pipes, it keeps going down a little bit further. What I don't want to do is fill it so much that it all just gets pushed into the expansion tank through this pipe here. We'll try that. Fire her up again. See how we get on. Back inside the garage now, try and warm up a little bit. I've washed the bike down where there was any risk of there being the coolant that splashed on the paintwork or on the frame or anything. Obviously you don't want that doing any damage. Washed down the tyres in case anything splashed on there, because as I said before, it's very slippery stuff, so I don't want it on there. Bike's now cooled down, so it's time for the last couple of checks. Going to check the radiator filler neck, make sure that it's still up to the top after the engine's run and the pumps run and whatnot, and then check the reservoir at the back, the overflow tank, make sure that's at the full mark, and if it's not, we'll give it a top up, and then that's the coolant changed. I've got the bike level. That'll be good for when we check the overflow tank at the back, but let's check under the radiator cap first. And yeah, yeah, it's gone down by a tiny amount, but not very much. I think you can probably see there's still some fluid visible on the camera. Also have a check of the cap itself, just check, no, nothing's split, rubbers look all good, so that's fine. I haven't got a pressure tester, I must get a pressure tester to test the radiator cap, but for now just looking at the rubbers look good. So even though it's only a tiny amount, let's just top it to the top of the filler neck. And with a little wipe around there, drip that's come off the cap. And pop the cap back on. And then the final check is the overflow tank at the full level. So hopefully you can see that in there. And giving the bike a wobble. Yeah, it's a couple of 3mm below full. That's plenty fine. So that's the levels checked. Everything looks good. So the coolant is changed. I could probably go for a ride now, if the bike had a seat on. So that's the coolant checked, changed, the pipes for the coolant checked, on with another job. So I won't be putting the panels back on yet, because I've got to do the air filter next. Thanks for watching everyone, ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon.